And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, Steve. How are you doing? I am doing really great today. We are jumping in my only bullets into the Greyhound. I'm going to draft my guys. If you guys haven't seen me draft yet, I have some pretty deep exposures on the tight ends position, on the quarterback position, more or less on the tight end position, wide receiver position with players like Tucker Kraft, Mike Gesicki, receivers like Terrell McMillan that can have a step forward into an offense that can be dynamic with a number one overall pick in Bryce Young. A couple of years ago, I think last year was another year under his belt where he could have learned the offense and they could have really tested to see if Bryce Young was the player and the franchise quarterback. We now hear that he is a quarterback that wants to be bet on. If we check out my exposures, my rankings, these are more season-long rankings for the Greyhound, for BBM, for the marathon and sprint. The marathon and sprint, I think those are more of the fascinating drafts. In my opinion, I think one can really choose their own edges, so to speak, in terms of player takes, wide receivers, running backs, quarterbacks, and tight ends. And then also one can also more or less choose their own adventure in like BBM. Due to the variance within weeks 15, 16, 17, I'm going to say this early on. I think that the sprint more so than BBM, and then you have a wider range of outcomes for rookie wide receivers, rookie players in general, running backs this year to really spike in a way that we see them more so have an effect on your overall team from weeks 15 through 17, because those points do get accumulated over that 3-week span. I am, like many other streamers, very into the wide receivers in the first round. Although next BBM, just for a quick preview for tomorrow's draft or Tuesday's draft. I'll probably get to it Tuesday or Wednesday, maybe even Thursday. It's gonna be a really rough week for me. But I think that I am gonna take the stand on Lad McConkey being a top 12 player being drafted next year. He's in one of the better situations. If Omarion Hampton isn't quite ready to step up in this offense, and if the Los Angeles Chargers want to run the football or pass the football more than they want to run the football this year, or at least be even passing and running, I think Lad McConkey coming off an 1,100, let's check his stats out, an 1,100 yard season with 112 targets, with basically one more new receiver, but a guy that I think is the number 2 and not necessarily the number 3. Now this offense could spread the ball out a bit more, but he is the number 1, whereas an offense more so like the Texans, where I have also Nico Collins as the wide receiver that I think is the most overvalued in fantasy right now in best ball. He's eclipsed 1,000 yards twice, over 1,100 yards only once, and that was last year with CJ Stroud. Now, or 2 years ago with CJ Stroud, as you can see here, with 1,297 and 8 touchdowns, only 109 targets though. This year, I'm more into. I just think that Jalen Noel and Jaden Higgins will have, and also Christian Kirk will have more dominant, more of a piece of that offense in the wide receiver core than we might think, as opposed to like a Quinshon Junk or QJ from the Chargers, Quentin Johnson, or Trey Harris. Due to their draft capital, both of them, the Iowa wide receivers, I think they're wanting to surround Stroud a little bit more. I think Joe Mixon is still gonna be more so the guy in that backfield. Just followed you on Twitter as well. Good luck with the draft. I'm going to have to head out. It's 1 a.m. here, but I look forward to watching you catching more streams. Sounds good, Steve. I will see you. Thank you for the follow, Steve. There's just more variance, and I like to think of more so fantasy in the aspects of, especially on half PPR formats. I think half PPR there's more of a split between good teams and bad teams. What teams can really score or outdo expectations and which teams cannot. Now teams like I think the Washington Commanders and don't really have all too many players at their disposal per se. However, they do have an elite quarterback. I think that Debo and Terry can get it done. However, I don't think that they have enough skill position players at the running back, or even just one at the skill position at the running back position that can really take another step forward this next year. Maybe that's better for fantasy. And I have to more so dive deeper into the data. However, I do think that Jaden will more so be like the Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson that has to elevate the team, whereas he is going to be more like the Joe Burrow or you could even say like the CJ Stroud that has to like is the ship that gets lifted because of the wind and the waves and the skill position players around them. Let's see. We have 8 picks left. Last night I wasn't able to get into my Greyhound. I really want to draft and get my Greyhound done tonight. If not, I might have to hop into a BBM. Like I said, I just talked about Lad and Nico and their various positions. Also, I think another take that we might a reason why I do think wide receiver is more crucial now more than ever. Um, and maybe elite tight end to some extent, and elite quarterback, is that we have these wide receivers: Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Puka Nacua, CeeDee Lamb, Malik Neighbors now, Brian Thomas now, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and to a lesser extent, probably AJ Brown, Drake London, Lad McConkey, and Nico Collins. That are in a unique situation. Waiting on 9 still in this draft. We're still waiting on 9 drafters. I'm gonna open a window real quick. Let's see. Oops, sorry about that, guys. Present, share screen. But I think we're in a unique situation where there's elite wide receiver production. I think, and the running back position is maybe not so elite, or it's harder to see the outcomes of these running backs. I think in fantasy, the reason why I'm into the superstar wide receivers is because unlike a running back where you need 5, almost 6 outcomes, and maybe you can say 7 or 8 outcomes to hit that nut ceiling, like we seen with Saquon Barkley last year. The 7 outcomes I'm saying is 5 great offensive linemen to block for you, an awesome quarterback, or at least a stable quarterback, and a good to very good to elite head coach. Whereas you have wide receivers that all you need is probably a top 10 quarterback, and you just need to be a superstar. I think Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Puka Nacua, CeeDee Lamb to some extent, and I think Amon-Ra St. Brown fit that mold. I think my bet is Lad McConkey is also does also fit that mold. Nico Collins, I think Neighbors, Brian Thomas are in another tier, and Drake London are probably in another tier where, yes, they could have a top, I'm going to say 6 to 12 to 15 quarterback, just an average quarterback, maybe a very good quarterback in the NFL. I'll give the example of Dak or Stroud, or even Trevor Lawrence, however you may feel about him, or even you can say Jared Goff, or if I give the lad McConkey example, Justin Herbert. If you have at least a top 10 quarterback in a season, and you have that matched up with an elite superstar at the wide receiver position, I think you're going to want to bet on the wide receiver probably 8 to 9 times out of 10. Now, just because I think there's less of a range of outcome for your player to hit, and I think that's my take with like a Terrell McMillan. I think Bryce Young is pretty good. He was a pretty good prospect coming out of college, number 1 overall pick in 2023. Dominated at the high school and college level. Played for elite programs at both levels. Division One and or for both college and high school, and now is a pro quarterback that has a dominant wide receiver 1 top 10 overall pick. I think the bet with Terrell McMillan is that if Bryce Young is just a top 10 to 12 quarterback this year, he's going to go nuclear. He can have 1,300 yards, 120 to 140 targets a game, or not a game, but a season, and 5 to, in the high end, maybe 12 touchdowns. I mean, that's a wide receiver 1 finish, in my opinion, and we're just putting this guy into the 4th round, where you see good, not great wide receivers. You can even say in the 2nd round, where you have maybe guys that haven't put up wide receiver 1 finishes, or at least top 12 in fantasy, where they're going in the 1st round. I think more so T is an interesting example of that. I like T, but I think having him up there in the 1-2 turn, or what is it at the 1-2 turn, 2-3 turn, at the 2-3 turn, just because Jamar is going over there. I think he's more like a mid-round 3 type player. Garrett Wilson, he's probably more up there than T is. However, I do bet just this year that he is healthy. He plays a full season with Joe Burrow, he puts up some numbers. I think Marvin Harrison is more the comp of T. Higgins, if he can be that. And maybe then Marvin Harrison can be, or can have more so that Jackson Smith Njigba, 1,100 yards, 1,130 yards, 137 targets, 100 receptions, and 6 touchdowns. I think that's not out of the range of outcomes for Marvin Harrison Jr. Now, do I think he can eclipse 1,250 to 1,300 to 1,400 yards? I think that is more so out of the range of outcomes. And I think that's what I see more so with Drake London and Nico Collins. If you can produce, I think, if you can produce at a level where you can have an 1,000-yard season your rookie year or higher, I think that is, we're seeing it more and more, but I think it's just as difficult as it was before, because quarterbacks some are good and some are not. Like the top 12 to 15 quarterbacks are really good. However, there are other quarterbacks that could not be as good and keep your more so fantasy value lower. So I think a perfect example is Garrett Wilson. I think he is a top earner. I think he can produce at a high level. 1,100, 1,000 yards, over 1,000 yards each and every season, but just really hasn't had that quarterback to help him. Now, since he's the only receiver in that offense, I think it kind of hurts him and kind of helps him. I think he can be like a CD Lamb from last year. But does that really put him over the top? I think Garrett Wilson is underpriced, is what I'm saying. I think he's probably a better pick than Rashee Rice, just because of the sheer volume that he will get. Now his efficiency might not be as good as Rashee Rice with touchdowns, which is the difference in half PPR to full PPR. But I think that's Garrett Wilson's price relative to where he's going is probably, I think he's underpriced. I think him and Jonathan Taylor probably should flip. Like Garrett Wilson's going at pick 25. Jonathan Taylor going at pick 20. I think it's easier to see Garrett Wilson having a 1,300-yard season and 7 touchdowns than Jonathan Taylor scoring or having 1,500 yards and 15 to 20 touchdowns. Especially if he doesn't have that third down workload of a pass catcher. He does have 1,400 yards last year with 11 touchdowns. only an additional touchdown receiving. I think you just need to be willing to the reason why in best ball and fantasy we say take wide receivers early is because there are 4 better picks at the running back position that probably land on better teams than there are wide receivers landing on really great teams. Perfect example was Bucky Irving, who just landed on a very good team, quarterbacked with a good team and a good organization. Last year we did see Neighbors produce, Brian Thomas produce, and McConkey produce. But those were all first-round talents. I think first round, you're kind of betting on them to hit. And more so using the NFL draft and those teams as more of a confirmation on that player and their ability to produce at the next level and their collegiate skills. What I'm trying to say is I think because this year was a very running back heavy draft, even though they may have dropped in terms of draft capital. I think after the first round, you really have to bet on prospects and their profiles more so, and their landing spots more so than where a team picked them at any position, but more so at the running back position. I think Saquon, Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, looking back, it's easy to say, oh, we should have been on those guys, but players that were set up really to succeed, and they were just the icing on the cake that was already being set. The finishing touches. I think if the reason why we have Bijan going so high, and I think, in my opinion, it's difficult to see him being the 101. He does have that 3-down workload. However, I don't think he's like a Christian McCaffrey where the coach is like, no, this is our guy, and we're going to ride him until his wheels fall off. They're going to mix in the running back 2 and Tyjae Spears. Let's see. Or Tyler Algier, sorry. Now, last year, he did get less receiving workload. Does have a decent amount of carries. You can see this team being down in games, not having a good defense. Penix elevating this team. Which I think that's what he did in Washington. I think Gibbs, I like the team, the situation a little bit better. Maybe it was the offensive coordinator. Maybe I have Gibbs a bit too high or Bijan too low in my rankings. And CMC and Saquon maybe too high. I think they were really good picks from picks 1 to probably like 1 through 24, and you really can't see players, I guess, dropping out substantially from their ADP. But I think there are a couple players that probably can slip and slide, like a Josh Jacobs with that situation, or not Josh Jacobs, Jonathan Taylor, excuse me, Rashee Rice, if he's not fully healthy, Marvin Harrison, if he really doesn't produce Kyron falling off, if Marvin's just not an elite wide receiver. And I think T. Higgins, if this team runs the ball a little bit more. I think A-Chain to some extent, because I think the team won't be as dynamic. But maybe 2 is healthy. Maybe Tyreek is good. That's just not a team that I'm betting on this year, the Dolphins. And then maybe Derrick Henry just becomes an old man, hurts one day, and just can't seem to do what he does anymore. In half PPR, it's harder to bet on good teams, good organization. Bet against good teams, good organizations. And very hard to bet on questionable teams and questionable organizations. I think the reason why I have a Ashton Jean T ranked so low in my rankings is because, and Devon Achane so low in my rankings is because I think the way that these guys win is they have to hit the singular outcome where it's not so clear, like last year with Saquon, Mixon, and Derrick Henry. Waiting on 5. Man, I want to get this Greyhound filled. The amount of touches Derrick Henry got last year is truly, truly insane. Probably still the focal point of that offense. I think in a couple years ago, we could probably have said Derrick Henry is the 101. Or at least in the top 5, especially on a half PPR site. I think we've evolved as fantasy analysts. The game has changed, and we are looking forward. We shall see. Five left still. Waiting on 5. If you guys liked or like my blabs, my babbles, go ahead and drop a like, subscribe to the channel. Let me put the draft back up. Still waiting on 5. You can follow me on Twitter at the Rafael Ibarra, all lowercase. I don't have tangents like I do here, but I do have takes on players that I think can step up this next offseason. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown having better, more touchdown efficiency with probably similar quarterback play, similar situation. It's probably the same bet as a CD Lamb. I'm going to shift some rankings in real time, guys. The more I think about Bijan, the more I understand the pick. Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think the reason why we had Amon-Ra going ahead of Gibbs last year is we think he is. I don't know if I want to do that or not. I'll have him just below him. Probably below CMC as well. I'll probably have CMC over him. Man. Probably want CMC over CD. I want Ladd over Nico. I want Bowers over Nico. Probably Bowers over Ladd. Saquon or Neighbors is a toss-up. I think as I talked more and more about him, I think I'm going to move Derrick Henry down. I think that looks nice. Oops, what happened? 2 left. No. Dang it, 5 left. 5 left in this Greyhound still. Like I said, guys, if you like the content, like and subscribe to the channel. Follow on Twitter or X, whatever you call it, at the Rafael Ibarra. TheRafaelYbarra is my name. I think I have the same profile pic on my thumbnails as I do on Twitter. I think if I were to sum up Underdog, sum up if I were to sum up Underdog, how to play it, best ball, but more so Underdog, I think I would say ranges of outcomes are probably not, there are less ranges of outcomes for players. I think you can bet more so on the profile of players and team situation landing spots, the depth on their chart, quarterback situation, and less on the ability of maybe a player or a team playing good in a week. I think it's easier for me, at least the way I see it, that I think I want bigger bets on more players that I truly like in half PPR, whereas on full PPR where your teams really don't need to be great, or the players that you bet that are on the teams don't need to be in great situations. Example last year is Jerry Jeudy. He was able to produce on a bad team with subpar quarterback play. I think in DraftKings you need to be more diverse on player takes due to situations, things occurring. I think you need to be diverse on player takes to some extent on Underdog, but I think I found something to be very true last year that at the end of the year, my player takes that I had profiling players, either through just watching highlights per se, draft capital, looking at explosiveness, what they've done in the past, the collegiate and in the NFL, but also maybe on new situations. I think betting on players in good situations on Underdog is an easier thing to do and a thing that you could probably get away with more and use as your advantage more because they have higher higher floors, and therefore the ceiling is much more attainable to them. I guess that's why I'm not so much betting on the Dolphins this year, the Saints at all in Underdog. I mean, I did like Spencer Rattler. I thought he was a good enough quarterback if he was in the right situation. They don't have a running back. But I do think you could still place your bets on the Cardinals, Bears. But I like the Seahawks is another team that people are kind of curious to think, are they going to do good this year? The Jets to some extent. I think the Colts fall more so into the buckets that the bucket that you want cheaper pieces of because they do have a lot of talented pieces. But I do think like you do want to be in on elite offenses, even if these players are overpriced to some extent. Like I think the Lions are pretty overpriced. I can see regression. But they just have a lot of talent around them that I think it can make up for that. I can see them get there, be the pieces that you need in weeks 15 through 17, where everything is made. However, I think you just want to bet again on teams that can really, that are really in the top 14, like playoff contenders, top 10 especially, that are going to be the top offenses. Like I think the Cincinnati Bengals are also probably a team that's overdrafted, or at least at cost. However, I think one of the better picks on the board is Mike Gesicki. If something were to happen to Jamar Chase, should I just take Puka here? I might just take Jefferson. I'm going to take Jefferson with the 101. I think he's going to be the 101 next year. I think I just want to make the bet that he is who he is. I want to make the bet on the 101 is like the worst spot in the Greyhound. Damn. Or in any draft, I think. I think the 101, you just have to kind of bet on your players, which that's what I was going to do anyway. I take Jefferson at the 101. The 102 probably goes to Jamar. Wow, wow, Jamar falls to the 103. That is funny. Yeah, I think as we get closer to August, Saquon is probably the 101. We get more chances to get Jamar probably up to 102 to 103, like you've seen here. But like if Lad falls to me, oh my god, that would be amazing. I would be willing to grab like a Nico Collins if he fell. Drake London. But I also did get unique at the 101. I'm kind of just betting on a regression for the Bengals offense to share the ball a bit more. I do think he can have Jamar like 1,500 yards without getting injured. I think if I had to target a running back here, it would be Bucky, Chase Brown, Chuba Hubbard on the way back around. I'm probably going to take Chase Brown and Terrell McMillan, unless one of my top guys comes back to me. I think here you really just kind of want to get your guys, so to speak. I mean, if Lad falls, that would be a blessing. Oh my god, this draft got an Amon-Ra at the 17 with neighbors. That is awesome. So, LOL Brandy probably drafted that. I think there's pretty good combos in this draft. You got CD with Lad. You got Puka with Bowers. You have neighbors with Amon-Ra. You have Gene T with London. Brian Thomas with CMC. Like I said, I think the top 24. I think Rashee Rice too early. Jonathan Taylor. Not 2 picks back to back that I'm not really into. But like the guy at 7, the guy at 6, 7, 8, 10, and 11. Oh shoot. Like I really like their drafts. Bucky falls. I think Tet falls. Man, I really like the Tet pick. I'm going to take Chase Brown. I think he gets utilized like Joe Mixon. Maybe even more explosive Joe Mixon this year. Maybe they use him more. I'm into the pick. This guy goes running back right out the gate. Saquon, Josh Jacobs, Kyron. We have a Jamar Trey McBride build with Harrison. He has the 101 pick. Bucky falls to the 3rd on the Jonathan Taylor Bijan Robinson team. If the guy at 6 would have landed Bucky with Lad and Lamb, that would have been nice. Or Bowers, Bucky, that would have been nice. I think you can see Chase Brown and Bucky staying in the 2nd round next year, possibly going even earlier, maybe even going in the 1st round. As Saquon and Christian McCaffrey and Derrick Henry and Devon Achane fall off a little bit more. I think you can see Chase Brown and Bucky go earlier. However, I think right now, as of now, Chase Brown does have more of that backfield than people may think. I think I am willing to chase Brown up to where Jonathan Taylor is going. I think this is a good spot for Bucky, where he went here. Kyron goes super early, though. T goes later. This guy gets Puka, Bowers, T. I think that's where T should land. This draft is very interesting. Very interesting. Ooh. You got Jackson Smith and Jigba at the 39. Still the wide receiver 2 on that offense that he has, but he does have Lamar and Gene T with it. I'm eyeing Kittle. I think with this team, we're going to do 3 quarterback. Might keep it balanced. Hampton actually would have been the call. I'm not going to go Chuba. Man, if he falls, that's going to be an interesting call for me. There's two players that I like more than any other players right now. This guy shouldn't get him. Let's see what the next guy does. He went Cortland Sutton. I'm going Kittle. Man, should I bet on Chuba? When touchdowns matter, I definitely want George Kittle. Man, Jalen Hurts. I just say you guys have Hurts way too dang low. Let's grab Chuba. I think George Pickens, Devontae Smith to some extent were kind of guys I liked. I have a pretty even team here. I think George Kittle slowly climbing up the boards, up ADP. I have a 0-2-2-1 build. Pretty, in my opinion, reliable. I have Chase Brown, Chuba Hubbard at the running back position. No quarterbacks. Chase Brown, Chuba Hubbard at running back. At wide receiver, Justin Jefferson, Terrell McMillan, and at tight end, George Kittle. The quarterbacks that I am looking for: Bryce Young, J.J. McCarthy. I think having Herbert, man, this guy at the 10 hole, landing George Pickens as well. That's a really nice team. Let's see the other teams. The guy at 6 has Garrett Wilson, Lad McConkey, CeeDee Lamb, Devonta Smith, Marion Hampton. The guy at 7, Puka, Flowers, T, Brees, Hurts. Not too into the guy at 9 squad. It's okay. Not into the guy at 12 squad. Not into the guy at 11. As you go down the boards, teams, in my opinion, or at least the way, Golden going at 67. He's going higher and higher too. James Conner going off the board. Oops, man, I keep doing that. Let's see who's here for me. Debo actually would have been nice. We're going to auto Jerry Jeudy. Should we go Jaden Reed, Caleb Johnson? We're going to go Jaden Reed. We do have our 2 running backs. We didn't need a third, I thought. Jaden Reed giving us spike week potential. Jerry Jeudy also giving us spike week potential. I hope Igbuka comes back around. Caleb Johnson, maybe he falls. I think in the next turn, really have to think about ADP right now. So in the 10-11, I think that's where I go McCarthy, but this is an interesting room. Probably a running back next click. Trying to really think out this squad. I could end with Kelsey. I don't think I want to do that. I think I want Kraft. There's really no running backs I'm too into. I like Charbonnet. I think he's been one of my favorite clicks. At running back, I think our team in Seattle will run the ball more. I think Jordan Mason is interesting if he falls to me. If not, we will pivot to, I like Mooney at cost. Ayuk, if we do a pretty Ayuk thing. I like probably doing Igbuka. I'm not a Juwan Jennings guy. I think Ayuk should come back. But I do think the CMC will be healthy. It's just a beast. I like this range for sure. Picks what, 8? Yeah, around 8 through like 11, 12. It's interesting. Picks 13 through probably 15 are kind of boring. And then in the end, I like to take my shots. The guy at the 12 hole gets Khalil Shakir, which is good for him. Dang it, Jordan Mason is off. Hawkinson went early. Ayuk is off. Egbuka falls to be. Did Baker fall? No, Baker didn't fall. Egbuka falls. I'm taking Egbuka. One of my favorite rookies. Shoot. Trey Harris opens up something kind of bets against. Opens up a quarterback with Trey Harris opens up Justin Herbert. I think the next turn we can do Herbert, McCarthy, maybe Love falls. Or reach on a quarterback. I would like Charbonnet on this team too. I'm gonna queue up Charbonnet, queue up Herbert, Tucker Kraft, JJ McCarthy, Jordan Love. I think I should have just took Charbonnet and queued him up, reached on him instead of Harris. But I do like the open up to Justin Herbert and really just play that offense. And I think that can cover one of Love or McCarthy. Maybe I can get Tucker Kraft fall, probably not. I think here if it falls, Charbonnet, Herbert. Charbonnet goes. I think I have an eye on who I want to be my dart throws at running back. I think JJ falls. Ugh. Who went? Love goes. Interesting. So I think I don't need Kraft. I'm going to take Herbert and McCarthy. I have to get through the Jordan Love drafter. He went tight end. Interesting. He went 2 tight end already. I probably can get him if he falls. Tucker Kraft. I mean, I can always go Ferguson too. I think he's a fine bet at cost. Mike Gesicki, like I said. I think what I like to do every round, kind of bet against the other round 1 guys, round 1, round 2 players, that makes my round 1 pick just that much stronger. So like here, if I read off the team, at quarterback, Justin Herbert, JJ McCarthy. At running back, Chase Brown, Chuba Hubbard. At wide receiver, Justin Jefferson, Terrell McMillan, Jerry Jeudy, Jaden Reed, Emeka Abuka, Trey Harris, and a tight end, George Kittle. So I choose, and I have the 101 Justin Jefferson. I choose Tedero McMillan, 14 picks ahead of ADP. Maybe he would have fallen to me. Who knows? But I bet against Jamar Chase with Chase Brown. Probably going to do it again with Mike Gesicki. I am betting on the Carolina Panthers and their offense with Chuba Hubbard and Tedero McMillan. I'm betting that Jerry Jeudy continues to be the dominant number one wide receiver in Cleveland. I'm saying Jaden Reed is the number one in Green Bay. Those two wide receivers, Jeudy and Reed, not costly wide receivers. Then I'm betting Egbuka, maybe a fall from Mike Gesicki or Chris Godwin, or he is just a dominant player. And then I'm betting against Trey Harris. I'm betting with Trey Harris against McConkey. Maybe he's just a really great vertical threat, a really great number 2 against Lad. And then I have the number 1 tight end, or a tight end that can give me multiple spike weeks, George Kittle. Ike Ferguson here. Should I reach on Young? Maybe that's not the best pick. Right, Andy. Kincaid goes. Man, like all these picks here. We're going to go Ray Davis. I think he's been a click of mine I like. We're going to go Bryce Young with the rushing upside. I think we can get 2 late round tight ends. There's wide receivers available. I think I like to get an elite quarterback with 2 later guys, going where McCarthy is or Young is. But like I said earlier, guys, this is a draft that ADP does not matter. Bet on your guys, bet on teams that you like. Couldn't get Omarion Hampton. I don't even think Najee was available. Couldn't get Hampton, Najee, or Warren to fall to me. Maybe this is a team that Adam Thielen works on. Not a player that I'm in on too much this year. Do I handcuff Chuba Hubbard with Rico Dowdle? Maybe I don't. I like this squad. I think the next turn is probably... Man, I love Jalen Noel. I love Noel. If he's there, he's probably an instant click. We'll queue him up. I think a sliding Benson is interesting. Mike Gesicki. He's sliding, huh? But maybe he should fall. Would be my play. I hope someone takes Benson. Braylon Allen, really a bet against the Breece Hall bet. Something I'm... What happened?
No word from mommy?
No. No. Trey Benson goes. Braylon Allen goes as well. Oh, this guy didn't go. Once you get deep here, you really can't. Noel goes, dang it. Should it be Roshan? I like Gesicki. Do I handcuff Chuba? I grabbed Roshan there. If Rico comes back, I'll grab him. Let's see. We are sitting at a 3-4-6-2 build with 3 picks left. Justin Knack, quarterback Justin Herbert, J.J. McCarthy, Bryce Young, and running back Chase Brown, Chuba Hubbard, Ray Davis, Roshan Johnson, and wide receiver Justin Jefferson, Teteroa McMillan, Jerry Jeudy, Jaden Reed, Emeka Buka, Trey Harris, and at tight end George Kittle, Mike Gesicki. I like the team a lot. Mm-hmm.
Mama's not here.
Ooh.
Who did that? Yeah, he was outside. I thought it was not here yet.
Let's see. Sorry. We good? Oops. There we go. Oh, what's up, Hartman? Happy to see you. Thanks for joining. Team looks good. We're almost up. Terrence Ferguson, 188. Get your guys. Think Chig. Let's go Dylan Sampson. Lloyd. How much bring back do we have? Lloyd or Burton? Let's go Burton. Betting on Cincy to be more diverse in their offense. Maybe Lloyd comes back. Chig comes back. Tutu if he comes back. Let's see. Torrey Horton. Tolbert as well. Lots of picks. Naylor. Tyfelt. Where's Tyfelt? I don't necessarily like to stack my 101 because I think, or at least my top pick, now that I'm thinking about it, just because you're kind of assuming they're getting there by themselves. But it is something I'm rather interested in doing. I think I have my picks in order. Curtis Stanley. Let's see. And there's a lot of picks still available. I think I'm good at quarterback. Of course, Lloyd goes. There's not really running backs I'm thrilled to get maybe Sean Tucker. Elijah Mitchell. Hunter Lumke, what a pick. Jimmy Horn. Man, Torrey Horton's there. We can do a bring back with the Carolina pieces. Or we can add to JJ McCarthy. Let's go Jalen Naylor. I think we went with Naylor or Horton, one of the two. Let's recap the draft. Then we'll be hopping off. Where'd the Greyhound at? The Greyhound. To recap my Greyhound, we went quarterback. We went a 3-5-8-2 build. We went Justin Herbert, JJ McCarthy, Bryce Young, Chase Brown, Chuba Hubbard, Ray Davis, Roshan Johnson, and Dylan Sampson. Wide receivers, Justin Jefferson, Tedero McMillan, Jerry Jeudy, Jaden Reed, Emeka Ibuka, Trey Harris, Jermaine Burton, and Jalen Naylor. And at tight end, George Kittle, Mike Gesicki. I got Cincinnati pieces. I got Minnesota pieces. I got a little Chargers stack here. Got a Tampa Bay piece. I got a Green Bay piece. Cleveland piece. Carolina stack. 2 Cleveland pieces. Really like this team. I got the Breen back with Chicago and San Francisco. No Arizona. We got Cincinnati rolling. No Dallas or Detroit, but we do have lots of Minnesota. We do have Green Bay. We are really betting on the Panthers and Vikings, but also the Chargers, Cincinnati. I like the squad. This is the Greyhound 0608. Let's do Los Angeles Chargers. Who else we got? Minnesota, Carolina. Who else? Cincinnati, Green Bay, Cleveland, YouTube. Yeah, I like the team. Guys. Well, that's got 282020. I wish it was a 29. It's my favorite number, 29. Oh, if we add the 1, maybe we can say Justin Jefferson. He was number 1. But the Greyhound 30 to first, I thought it was 40, but it's okay. I mean, if we get in the top 10, I think that'll be nice. In that contest, it is 2 out of 12, 1 out of 5, 1 out of 4, 53-man final. If we get to the final, we are turning this into 750. Not too bad. 750 is, let me do the math real quick. $30 BBMs, about the number I'm trying to do in BBM. But if you guys enjoy the squad, let me know down in the description who you would have taken where, and in my rant and tangent, if you guys enjoyed all that. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.